Grace Randolph, Beyond the Trailer.
Yes, hi.
Hi, I just watched
Hi.
your movie last night. I have to say,
Awesome.
I was pretty impressed with how you managed to make it a fair fight between a predator and these Native Americans, considering the difference in technology.
Thank you.
How long did it take you to come up with, some of the, I don't want to give anything away, but to work that out so it would be believable?
Well, I mean, that the exciting thing for me was that David versus Goliath story. It's one thing to see someone you expect to win in Arnold Schwarzenegger, and another thing to see someone who you see yourself in, who you connect to, and feel like, how, if I were in the situation, could I pull it off? And
yes, I would think no. I was inspired.
A lot of people would think no. A lot of people would think that Rocky couldn't handle what was coming to him. Or a lot of people thought that Rudy could never make it onto a football team. A lot of people would think that the Bad News Bears couldn't thrive. So, like, the point is that I think the exciting thing is that we're telling a real underdog story, and about a character that you can really connect to and root for, and seeing step by step how they're able to handle it. The other inspiration is Breaking Bad. Is seeing how that innocent, naive school teacher becomes the most ruthless, menacing drug lord. So I love those kinds of stories where we take someone from one place and see how they achieve what they seek after.
I like your references. I can really see them in the film when you make them. I'm like, oh yeah, I saw that in there. Your movie also reminded me of The Northman, and that Hollywood used to romanticize previous periods and civilizations, and now there's this trend of like, this is what it was really like. How hard was it? And obviously, well, it was clearly very important, but what made you want to have such a realistic depiction of a tribe like this?
Well, I think it's the only way to tell. I think it's the moral thing to do is to be as authentic as you possibly can be. And I think it's the thing that should be done more often. That was part of the impulse for making the movie, was thinking about, since we're telling an underdog story, thinking about, well, who in media has not really been given a fair shake, and thinking about who often plays the sidekick or the villain in most movies, and putting the lens on them and seeing them rise to the occasion. There's a very specific shot in the movie that is in reference to one of the most famous movies that we have in the history of cinema, is a movie called The Searchers, that inspired Star Wars, and has
that was not a politically correct film.
Not at all, right? Exactly, right. Has a pretty awful portrayal of Comanche specifically. So there's a famous shot in the movie that's been used in plenty of movies after it, which is the doorway framing device, and seeing John Wayne approaching the doorway, stepping out, and the camera moves past. And so at the very beginning of this movie, we see the TP framing Naru as she steps out, and we push past, and it's meant to be sort of reclaiming that imagery.
I love that. Jhane, you guys have some fantastic talent here. Like, for instance, you've discovered Dakota. How did you go about casting this movie?
Oh my gosh, that was really exciting. It was exciting for me because we even had them audition in Comanche when we got down to the final 4 people. So Dakota's amazing. Amber is amazing. It's great to see a Native woman in a Native in a lead role, as the heroine of the film. But Dakota was amazing. When Dan and I were watching all the tapes, and it was kind of, it's so hard because it's the pandemic, right? I probably look better than what I do in person, you looking at me right now. So, even seeing Dakota, once we saw him like in person, it was just like, okay, because, it was, who knows? People, are not professionals doing their audition tapes, and you don't know, is that person really that tall? Is he lean? Is he this? What does his voice really sound like in person? So, for him, he was just like, to me, it was a great surprise a great gift because he filled everything that we needed as well as, as Amber did. So it was perfect. Dan can add more if he'd like.
It's worth underlining that Dakota has never been in anything before.
Yeah, I saw.
Not a commercial, he's never done anything. And not only did he act in the movie, he rode that horse, he shot that bow and arrow, he fought against that predator, he did all that fight sequence stuff himself. It was truly, and it's not just like a fight sequence, it's like he's doing some pretty awesome things, and he's doing it himself. It's
very good action in this movie.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, incredible. And even because he's Comanche, we're a horse culture, horse people, so he was riding a horse and he started out, and I would go out there like when he would have his lessons, because I was like, oh God, here's Hollywood guy, he's not going to know how to be on horses, because as Comanches we grow up riding horses and we're not afraid, and we're fearless. But it was like, I was like, I would call and I'm coming out, make sure he's got his helmet on. I didn't want to have any mishaps, but he was amazing, for somebody that, our trainer that did train him on the horses, Mark, said he is like uncannily good on a horse. He said if he wanted to like step off and be in the rodeo or do whatever, he could do it, because he just had that natural. But in the beginning I was kind of afraid. I was like, oh no, I better go out there. I don't know what I would do, pick him up off the ground if he fell, but still,
I'm glad he didn't.
He didn't. So, that was really good. It was amazing.
Oh, that's awesome. Congrats. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Great to meet you.
I was just talking to Dan and Jhane, and they were singing your praises.
Oh, that's so nice.
They
I'm
said
so glad to hear that.
You said you're an amazing horseback rider.
Oh, thank you. It was a lot of fun. I'll tell you that.
So this is your very first big acting gig. How did you find out about it, and what made you say, you know what, I'm going to audition for that?
So it was kind of one of those things that just kind of fell in, the stars aligned and fell into place. I had just did an open casting call for a different show, and that ended up getting squashed because of COVID. I don't even think it was a big part. And then about a year later, this casting agent, Renee Haynes, sent me an email, and she said, hey, I want you to audition for this small role. And I said, okay. And little did I know it was this movie. So it just kind of all came together.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if she was just trying to mislead you, but I mean, you make the role really big.
Thank you.
I was really impressed.
Yeah.
I don't want to give any spoilers away, but I was really rooting for your character. I think he's fantastic.
Thank you so much.
You're pretty badass in the movie. Did you design your own look with the markings that you had?
Certain ones I did. So all the boys have their different kinds of war paint, but as the movie goes on, we see that certain things change, like his war paint changes. And the one at the end in particular was mine. Originally, I had nothing. And so I was like, hey, Dano, can I take some blood and do this? And he was like, you're dang right you can. So yeah, that was me.
Oh, that's awesome. Also, predators like to use their invisibility cloak, obviously, and that's used to great effect in the movie. You also see this predator quite a bit. What was it like when the predator first walked on set?
Oh, it was pretty amazing. There's this, I've said this several times, but Taabe, whenever he sees the predator the first time, he goes, "Ora potsukutap," which means that's some crazy doo-doo, basically. And I was pretty much the same for me. I was like, dang, that's a big thing. It's pretty daunting.
How much was practical? Like, because it seems very gritty, very real. How much of the fight was practical, and how much were they doing it in post? And you were acting opposite a tennis ball.
So all of mine was with a guy in a suit, like the actual predator suit. So it was right there with me, and I did all the fight and the horse riding. So I got to do all the own stunts. So that was exciting for me and Dane to get in there and actually duke it out, and roll around in the dirt. It was pretty fun.
I also love how supportive your character is of his sister. And the rest of the tribe, not so much. What do you hope that young women or all women take away from this movie?
One thing I loved about Taabe was the fact that he was not just another jealous older brother that we've seen 1,000 times, of his sister who was, obviously talented and gifted at certain things. Obviously, he's got a little bit of Papa Bear going on, but naturally, who wouldn't? One thing I think young ladies could take away was looking for, I don't know, Taabe's got this heart of gold and this love in him. And I wanted to be a light, in particular to young boys, to be just, you can be tough, but you can be kind at the same time.
Oh, I
and
love
also,
that. That's
thank you.
perfect.
Thank you. Yeah, that was the biggest part for me that I wanted to shine through. So maybe admiring somebody who is tough, but also kind,
Oh, I think that's exactly right, because your character is so cool, and him being kind and understanding of his sister doesn't take away from that at all.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that translated.
Were you a Predator fan before the movie before you got cast here?
I liked the first one. I didn't know as much about the other ones, but Arnold and Billy and the whole gang, it's pretty, it's pretty epic.
Oh, that's awesome. Thanks so much, and congratulations.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I love the poster look that you have with the green war paint, the Predator blood.
Yeah.
It looks just as cool in the movie. Was it that green on set?
That's a great question. It was. It actually was. We spent so many test days trying to figure out how to make, first of all, Predator blood, but also like make it that green, because when they use it on the Predator, it's literally glow stick juice.
Yeah.
That they
is it?
Yeah, it's like glow stick. I mean, I'm sure there's other stuff happening, but it's like glow stick juice, and they like paint it on and it fades. So like, but you can't it's super toxic, so you can't put that on your face. So we spent like a lot of days figuring out how to make Predator blood that could go on my face. So I'm glad that you appreciate it.
It was super cool. It was worth it.
Thank you.
Also cool, you have one particular fight against some settlers.
Mm-hmm.
And is that a long take? Is that all in one take?
That was one take, yeah.
Oh, wow. How was it putting that together? Because, you had to deliver a lot of blows, and very different ones.
That was crazy. It was actually really cool because we figured out, so we shot for like, I don't know, 5 months or something. We were there for a long time. So, and that includes like quarantine and training and stuff like that. But we were there for like 5 or 6 months. And at some point we started filming the movie. And so I was no longer had time to like go to rehearsals or anything. So literally like fight rehearsals were happening like between setups or like at lunch and stuff like that. So I was getting pulled and I was learning this fight literally in like, it felt like 100-degree weather outside at lunch, like as the summer progressed. And when we finally got to shoot it, it was like we did all kinds of different versions of that fight, like some where we break it up, some where I just like ran through the whole thing, and we had different versions of it. And Dan would come in and say, hey, can you take this piece out, or can we add something here? And so it changed a bunch of times, and ultimately what we ended up doing was like a cowboy switch. So that fight is both me and my stunt double, so there's different pieces. It's all one take, so it's like pieces of it where it's like it's me fighting, and then like quickly I'll like roll out, and then Tammy, my double, Tammy Nara,
that's
will
incredible.
roll in, and she'll do a few things, and then I'll run around, because it was also the way that they had to shoot it with the camera, like was physically impossible for one person to cover that much ground.
Yeah.
In the timing. So we figured out a way that they could do everything with the camera that they wanted to do, and we could do all the stuff with the fight
That's
that we
amazing.
wanted to do, and Dan could get his cool one take fight that he wanted. So it took a lot of crafting, but it was really, really
How many
cool.
takes?
Oh my God, we did it for so long. We did it for like hours, I feel like.
Well, and it was seamless. And I was so invested in the fight. I was like, hey, wait a minute. That was a one take fight.
Yeah.
Because when it finished the shot on your face,
Mhm.
like it just came into focus on you. And I was like, that was impressive.
That's cool. Then we did our jobs. That makes me glad to hear.
Can you really throw the axe like that?
I mean, yes and no. There were different times that like I was always throwing it. So the tomahawk was always like I was using it. And then there were a few times when it was like specifically like things with like the X in the tree,
Yes.
or like the one where I was like doing the rope and stuff, just because like that there were so many different, like, I don't know, there were like weeds and things that it could get stuck on and stuff like that. So there were different times when like elements of it would be VFX, but I lived with that tomahawk in my hand. That was like an extension of my arm for like the 6 months. It was like me, tomahawk.
I believe it. I was like, good thing she tied a rope to that thing. That came in really handy.
Yeah.
Also, the predator spends a lot of time, particularly in your scenes, invisible.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to do a lot of reacting. How was it reacting to those scenes and not having anything there that you're actually looking at?
It was, honestly, I feel like he was there so much of the time that the invisible parts just feel like, I feel like I shot like 3 different movies. I feel like there was like the like Naru Hunts Alone movie, and then the like Predator movie, and then the like Comanche movie. So I feel like for any of the times that like the Predator wasn't there, it was all this buildup to like finally, the times that you do see him. So like that was a really cool element of our movie, was being able to have like a real, a guy in a suit with a head that like actually like moves and like the mouth opens and like.
Oh, it did? That was practical?
Yes. So like
That's awesome.
there was an animatronic head that took like 4 people to run it, ADI Studios, and they literally like opened the mouth and did all kinds of things, and he would move, and it was just like, Dane D'Allegro. I don't know how to say his last name. I worked with him for 6 months. I don't know his last name, but he was in the.
He's Dane.
Dane. It was in there too. Like it was just constantly, you know what I mean, like there, and we were doing stunts together and stuff like that. So having like that in front of me all the time was, I think, a really unique like privilege that I got to have in a movie like this.
That's awesome. That's so cool. Congrats. Yeah. You did a great job.
Thank you.